Using is thermal imaging. Why would I want thermal imaging inside of a ghost hunt?
It can detect things that you can't see.
How so?
Heat.
Some heat.
Not heat. Cold. Right. We're looking for cold spots. Literally. So this is a FLIR Pro 1. What does that mean for you? This is what firemen use to actually help save people. So this technology is fantastic. It is an upgraded version. It's going to obviously, we're looking for the blue and black spots to take shape on their own, because you guys can obviously see me in there, right? Red, orange, and yellow guy. It's set up to white, hot, black, cold. So it can only see in 2D, but it's also giving us a blue dot that's bouncing around the screen. That's kind of giving us the coldest spot in the frame at that particular moment. The reason I put that in there is to help direct your eye when you get your video back on where to be watching this video. So again, it's not always in that exact coldest spot, because sometimes if Tom's using it and he moves super fast, I know, like, I saw something start to take shape, but it wasn't at the coldest point yet, but we missed the rest of that video. So, but again, the way we're going to be using this is when you're going to get the video back, it's going to be split into a couple of different segments, because we're not going to record the entire 2-hour time frame. Again, this hardware is great, the software sucks. So I'll kind of give you some clues on like when to go ahead and give it a stop and give it a rest. But I splice all those videos together so you only have one video. So us walking from one space to the other, there's no point in actually recording that at all. So Tom, you're going to hold this horizontal all night long, just like that. Perfect.
Like this?
Nope, just like I just handed it to you, so you can actually watch it. So when I say keep it horizontal, that means keep the camera on your left. That's the wire side. And then when I tell you to stop it, that's obviously the red square that's on your screen. It'll turn to a circle. So you don't need to pay any attention to the timers and anything like that. It's just a matter of, you're going to be a cameraman. If you see something great in real time, awesome. But mostly with these video cameras that we're going to be using, it's all about the media review, which is why I give you the link to all of your recorded data back. So, the next piece.
Is it bad that I can't see anything?
Dark. It's dark outside.
Yeah, awesome.
So then this next guy works obviously a lot differently. It's set up completely different, as I'm sure you can already tell.
Hold on for a second.
So, with this, you should not be able to see me in this little tiny screen right here. Yes, this is a GoPro. It's just been altered, and I'm going to show you how it's been altered here in just a moment. So, again, it should be, well, you should be able to see me somewhat. It's still a little bit light outside, but we are going to turn on some lights. So, obviously, we're working with lights you cannot see with your own eyes. Your screen should be somewhat purple at this point. We're working with infrared lighting. The whole point of this is that we can't see the light with our own eyes that's being emitted. We're hoping to be able to capture something we would not normally be able to see with our own eyes. So we're also going to be using lasers with this guy tonight. And the lasers actually help us detect motion, and I'll go through that demo here in just a moment. But Dylan, we're going to go with you on this one. Really? Applause? Okay.
Good job, Jody.
So, this is the neuralizer for Men in Black. None of you are going to remember a damn thing by the time we're done. You guys not familiar with Men in Black? Come on.
I am. Yeah.
Nothing remember.
Here's the lasers. So basically why we use the lasers is these things show up like a Christmas tree inside of Dylan's camera. We're hoping to be able to capture something that's actually going to pass through it. So, you got it now? So these things like really brighten up in there. If I can actually get, watch the video and see some kind of anomaly pass through quickly, I'll do my best to get a screenshot of it and obviously be able to show you what we actually captured. We're going to be using two different kinds of these. So this one actually gives us red squares. In the event that something passes through the red squares and we can capture it on the video, I can put it in 3D software and give you a full 3D view of what we caught along with measurements. I've had this guy for about a year, but the 3D software hasn't been able to take anything yet because it's been too blurry. So those screenshots can be very quick. So lasers are actually held by adults only. So kind of keep that in mind. I know you have a cup of coffee in your hand, but you can slide one of these in your pocket until you're finished with your coffee. This guy, you have to hold on. You always want to keep the lasers pointed at the ground and the edge of it touching your toe. If you're going to use them side by side, don't cross the streams. I know that's a bad Ghostbusters joke, but it does work here. You want to make a nice big grid, and you want to keep them close to your feet. The reason for that is because there is a laser law in Charleston, and we don't want to get into trouble tonight. So
There is a laser what law?
A
laser law.
Both of these at the same time. One person. Okay.
Yeah, always.
I want coffee.
Spirit boxes. Everybody loves a good spirit box. So spirit boxes, if you're unfamiliar with them, are basically a way for us to communicate with the dead. So basically, if you guys watch the TV shows...
Doesn't somebody have to put on headphones?
Yeah, we're going to do that.
I knew everything.
So, Do you guys watch the television shows? Are you guys familiar with
I
any of this
just
lingo?
guessed. I watch YouTube.
Some of you? Okay.
I think
I
Julie
watch
watches a lot of
YouTube.
this kind of stuff.
Dad
So,
does.
In a nutshell, this is
I
going to sweep through
does.
the FM radio stations at a very quick rate. Normally, it's just the white noise that they give you on TV, and then the host will tell you the BS that Vinci heard in the middle of it, trying to convince you of the same thing. Yeah, we're going to be doing that in real time, only my spirit boxes are slowed down on purpose. None of you were trained to listen to white noise for 2 hours at a time, plus all the history I'm going to give. Somebody's going to fall asleep. So, with these being slowed down, the radio chatter will come through. The nice thing about that is it's a 50-50 shot that if you hear a song, lyric, a DJ, or a commercial, I can tie it to the location of where we are, a person in history we're actually discussing, or even something going on with one of you guys. Happens all the time that you guys brought ghosts with you and didn't even know it. So I also don't know it because those clues are only going to be relevant to you. The cool thing about this one is we're going to get a recording of this guy. So with the recording, I'm going to spot check it tomorrow morning on top of writing down whatever, is it Misty? Did I get that right? So whatever Misty hears in real time, I'll be writing those down on top of whatever I hear, and then of course if any of it's relevant, I'll obviously give you the links to be able to verify it. Now you are going to have an earbud in. You're going to be the only one to hear it in real time. So I don't want earbuds back because your earwax is your own souvenir. Lucky you. So you get to keep those. Undo your twist tie for that, and the volume for it is right here. It's a wheel. And then you
I
can
know
turn all the way down, so that way when you put the earbud in, it's not so overwhelming. I do have 2 of these. So, Austin, we're going to let you give this thing a whack. You good with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured as much.
I do get to keep hair.
Yes.
Oh, stick on.
No. I need you to hold on to that, okay?
What if
Hold
I
on.
lose it?
You'll be all right.
Well,
It's got a wrist strap on it. You can just put the wrist strap on.
oh, okay, good, because it'll get dropped.
Yeah, I'm aware.
What
all
about
yours.
if he breaks it?
Thank you.
I'm fully aware. All right, so
What
undo
about
your twist
if
tie,
it's
but your volume button right here, it's a wheel. So I'm turning yours all the way down as well. So actually, I'll help you out. How about that? We'll get this twist tie off of there. So the spirit box is just to kind of reinforce what you're listening for on that, Misty, is the song, lyrics, DJs, commercials. So whatever voices you hear, I want to know what it is, no matter how silly you think it is. If you hear "Drop It Like It's Hot," I want to know that you heard
I
"Drop
can
It
do
Like It's
that.
Hot."
I
Is
can
that
do
fair?
that.
It's not an easy job, just so you know. All right, so pop one of those in your ear.
Hear music
And then-
at any time, you tell him.
Yep.
Like, do I see what it says?
Just tell him I heard music and tell him.
And then there's a wrist strap. Looks like.
Put your wrist
Yep.
in the strap.
You don't have to put both of them in.
Hang on, let's get the wrist strap on. Hold this for me, somebody. Can you hold that for me for just a second?
Listening. It's on. What if the ghost on listening? It's on.
Where is the,
The ghost might be listening to us.
All right.
okay. Go ahead and put that in your ear, bud.
Put one in. You don't have to put both in.
Maybe
Yeah,
we're
just
gonna
use
host
one.
my grandma. I'm gonna be very sad.
All right. So
Now, if you hear music, you just let him know.
this spirit box we don't actually have to listen to. This is kind of like an obulus of what you would normally see on television. So it's going to give us a word from time to time in the center of the screen. It's going to save all of those words to a list. That word list is going to have timestamps next to it. So it's going to allow me to actually see what's going on with the spirit box, the video recordings, those kind of things. It kind of sees if anything matches up. Now, last tour I did with this one, we had 85 terms that showed up in a 2-hour time frame. It's actually a little bit over the average of 75. 80% of this is going to be garbage. It's not going to mean anything. So it's the other 5 to 20% that's actually going to be super specific to our location, a person, one of us. So again, we're looking for specifics on this guy. So Julie, you're going to handle this because I know you're going to be kind of wrangling the kids too. That's an easy one.
Okay.
So now you got both phones.
Okay. Yeah, he'll get his back when he gets done with his coffee.
Yeah,
Yo, I cannot hear a thing.
Because you got to turn the volume up. All right.
Sometimes
You're going to hear white noise.
something
You're not going to hear anything when you start walking.
So you guys have all
They sing
seen.
a song.
You guys seen these on television before, right?
Yes.
The little blinky lights?
Yes.
These ones are an absolute necessity for when we're doing this because it helps debunk things. This kind of tells me if it's coming from something man-made. So I don't normally use this for complete accuracy. I do have another one that we're going to be using. But, Nathan, this one's going to go to you. All you need to tell me is what colors you see. Can you handle that? Okay. That one goes to you, my friend.
What color do you see? Yellow, that's right.
Looks like green to me.
Yeah, I usually call that one green.
Yeah. Green.
This next one works a little bit differently. So, Maddie, did I get the name right? Yes. Perfect. Look at me go. I'm on top of things tonight. So, got it. So it just took me a minute. All right. So this one is what we call a millimeter. So this one, it basically has the same thing that Nathan's has, only it's a lot more accurate. So the top number, I want to know what's going on with it. So if it goes above 2.5, you got to let us know what's going on so we can either prove or debunk what's actually happening. The reason I want 2.5 is because that would be Nathan's second color. So his next color up. So I want to know anything above that. His goes to 25. I've seen this one go over 200. Just so you know, it's way more accurate. The bottom number is ambient temperature. Tom over here finds something on the camera. You and I can prove it or debunk it using the yellow probe at the top. It'll give us the ambient temperature. We can find the cold spot to see if it's legit. The last thing that it has that everybody wants to use is called a REM pod. It's basically a motion sensor. If something gets close to that antenna that I just pulled out, it's gonna go off. I'm not touching it right now. So we're gonna talk more about the colors that go through there because the closer it gets, obviously the higher pitch, yeah, it's very annoying at times. And you're already looking like, oh my God, that thing's bright. So for now, focus on those red numbers and I'll be in touch with, showing you more about how to use that motion sensor. Yes, sir.
It's speaking too fast.
Nope, it's as slow as I can make it.
Okay.
So
just turn
you're
it
gonna
down a
you're gonna get better at it, I promise. You're gonna get way better at it.
It's just playing music.
When we get in there, it's going to do different things. So we turn it down a little bit at the bottom.
And where?
To the
When we
place
go to the ghost places.
Do they cover everybody? Yeah, I think everybody.
So just turn it down for right now until we get there.
All right, so
So basically for Tom, he just has to basically just...
he's a cameraman.
That movie
Camera,
sounded,
okay.
I mean,
Just
that
keep it nice and
song
horizontal,
sounded like
nice
it was-
slow.
And what to do with that.
Let me know when it goes above 2.5.
Yep, gotcha.
Okay.
Now
He's like, I
he's
can do that.
2.5. Well,
He
this
can't even
is
see.
this is 81.
That's
The
temperature.
top number.
Oh, okay.
The top
gotcha.
number.
Top number.
You need
Top
my
number.
glasses?
2.5. I got it.
This is gonna be a fun group.
Great.
So, you guys are gonna make me talk all night long, so I'm gonna take some water first before we get into what we're actually talking about. So, pretty sure it's my job to talk, isn't it? Yeah. So the building behind me, Big John's, it's the place where I asked you guys to meet me at, so there's a reason why we're here. It's haunted, of course. Big John's was owned by a football player. His name was Big John Kennedy. Can you imagine why they named it Big John's? So, he played for the 1947 New York Giants. Every time I'm telling you the history of a location or a building, I will do my best to slow down on specific keywords, mainly because we have so many spirit boxes running right now. Over here, it's going to be 47, New York, Giants, and anything relatable to a bar. So, the story here is very simple. John used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. One night, two guys come in, they're not old enough to drink, so he has the bartender throw them out. They leave pretty angry, but they come back the next night, and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on, he slams down his beer, he goes over and just starts pounding these guys into the floor, just beating the heck out of them. A couple of gunshots go off. John gets grazed in the neck, but the bullet lands behind him in the wall. John gets up after being shot, goes back to the bar, tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the two guys on the floor in ambulance. John's the only one that's been shot in this whole story. So, normally I tell you that a building is haunted, you're automatically thinking of some tragic death that occurred here. But what's haunting this building is the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. Even if this new renovation of Big John's filled it in, Big John's blood is still here. People that sit in the front of this bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or a headache. This is your heated warning and probably the scariest thing I'm going to tell you all night long. If anybody feels any of those symptoms tonight, I need to know immediately, and we can move the whole group and get that person to safety. Is that fair? Granted, it's very humid out tonight, and I won't be able to prove if it's paranormal, but at the same token, it does happen more often than I would actually like. So, let's get our mind off of our own health, right? So, have you guys taken any other history tours here in town?
Nope.
No? Nothing?
What am I looking for on this thing again?
Words.
Words.
And I'll come to you when the words start popping up because I don't want to see every single one. I want to kind of spot check it throughout the
Words will
night.
pop up on the screen.
Yeah, they're going to show up in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, but what does that mean? Am I supposed to tell you what the words say? Or-
No, because if we do that, we're going to be out here till 4 in the morning because we're going to have about 90 terms show up.
Okay.
I'll come to you when I want to see the list and start explaining what I see
Okay.
that's actually relevant.
Cool.
So,
I was here a couple years ago for a ghost tour.
yeah. So, we might hit some of the same spaces, but
that's true. That's fine.
big earthquake here in 1886. The reason why I asked if anybody's taken any other kind of tour at all is because we all talk about that earthquake, because this is South Carolina and you guys live in Georgia, so you know we're not supposed to have earthquakes. We're supposed to have hurricanes. So, that big earthquake in 1886, Big John's, the building, is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. A piece of the mantle you see in the middle of the building, the white bar, goes all the way around to the front on the East Bay Street side. A piece of it broke off, struck somebody in the head, and they say you can see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night. I say allegedly a lot with that, so nobody's thinking about getting sick on the tour after I tell you what actually happens on the tours. So, is everybody ready to go ghost hunting? Some of you are very quiet. So, this is going to be an interesting...
Ready to go.
I know, I talk a lot. You guys have to shut me up every once in a while. We're actually going to go this way.
Don't be rude.
I do talk fast. I'm not from down here. Yep.
Nathan, stay behind. We're gonna turn it down. Turn it down. No, turn it down until we get to a spot, and he's gonna tell you when to turn it up. And you're not supposed to hear anything. And if you do, then tell him.
That's bad.
Yeah.
We'll pass by a couple of bathrooms.
Okay.
Hopefully the places will
Yeah,
still be open.
we'll be okay.
The wall, you can
Hey, that's why I was late, because I always use the bathroom before I come here.
Are you gonna?
We're going to start that at the next piece. Just to let it get used to the humidity out here. It takes a minute. This one's actually a little temperamental. The new one is actually in the shop. It arrives back tomorrow. Absolutely. There's a couple spaces you'll be able to do that. So, welcome to the Big Red Barn Lot. This place is where I get to, obviously when I have groups this size, I have to explain 10 more devices now that they're actually in your hands with examples. So, this is where we keep the horses for your carriage rides. You guys can probably smell the horses. I'm immune to it. I'm not here too much. But the history here is really simple, and I did it that way on purpose to prove a point. So, this is the same red barn that held horses that used to deliver milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. That's it, 1860s to 1920s. So let's talk about spirit boxes. This is not television, this is not YouTube, this is not a Ouija board. Everybody wants to ask the same question whenever they get any kind of communication device, and that question normally is somebody here? If somebody answers no on somebody's spirit box, that means somebody's here. They answered you. So we were not going to be asking yes or no questions all night long. Some spaces I'll give you kind of impromptu questions that we can be asking. Other times you can, by all means, ask whatever you want to as long as we can actually prove it. In a space like this, I would normally tell people new to spirit boxes to ask questions you already know the answers to. For an example, if somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Obviously we're looking, because Julie has a word list, for the color red, or we're listening for the color red. But song lyrics and DJs might not always have the color or the word red available to them to be able to answer back to us. But fire truck, blood, heart, those three things are specifically red. I would take that as an acceptable answer. What color is the big red barn? Blood. Good with that. However, most of the night, I'm going to require that there's at least two pieces of something going on to be able to verify what's actually happening. For example, if Julie's word list actually has the word art on it, that doesn't mean anything by itself. But Misty over here, here's the number 40. Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? It's all about putting the clues together. These are not going to be full-blown conversations. So that's why I always say, like throughout the night, like, hey, that's a great first clue. Let me see what actually else occurs with that. And yes, I will withhold information purposely so that way everybody has a genuine experience. So, cameras. Let's start with the thermal. So, Maddie, basically you're going to try to do two things for us. First, well, three things. You're going to try to keep it as still as possible because obviously the slower the movements, the easier it's going to be able to find those cold spots. Second thing you're going to try to do is keep one of us in view. The reason why is because we're the warmest thing out here. With our white, obviously, heat on your screen, it gives that array of color. It's much easier to find cold spots when you have an array of color versus one area that might be all one temperature. The other thing you're going to try to do is keep the sky out. The reason why is because that blue dots that I was talking about earlier is going to default to the sky simply because there's no surface. It's looking for the coldest area, and that's where it's going to be because there's nothing to measure, just so you know. So, again, always start that camera on your left, which it's recording now, and it's on the left, so you're good. So, off to Dylan. Where's my lasers? So, Brandon, go ahead and point one of your lasers down for me. Turn it on. So, I don't want Brandon, I'm getting the names mixed up. So, Dylan, I don't want you like pointing your camera down at it because we already know what the stars look like, right? So basically you're going to take 2 steps backwards. Right.
So you're just kind of looking in the...
You got it, right there. Exactly. So you can keep this in here for kind of a point of reference, but we're literally looking for motion right in this range. So obviously the more even your camera's going to be, the better off of the video we're actually going to have. So that's like the perfect range right there, by the way. That was perfect. There'll be certain spaces where lasers will not be allowed, so I'll kind of say you're out of the game, or if you want to listen in with somebody's spirit box, that's why there's always a loose hanging earbud somewhere. So, again, we'll do the Andy's coming in certain spaces, just so you guys know. I'll always remind you where cameras are safe and where lasers are safe. So, I think we're done with ponies and football players. What do you guys think? I'm going to show you more about that at the next location, Tom, just so you know. I always save that one for last because there's way more detail in it, and I want to get everybody moving and working.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
One of the things that was not mentioned in the last tour was anything about slave trade here, which I know this was the major port of slave trade was here. Do you see any of that
in my investigations? Every once in a while I'll get clues that I can guess of where they're coming from, but because of the lack of records, there's nothing that I can actually say, like, David was the cook at this particular home.
Gotcha.
Do you see where I'm going with that? So a lot of times, and I'll get those clues all the time. I just can't prove it. So unfortunately, they're a wash. Like, I can't do anything with them, and I normally don't highlight them. But there's certain spaces, like we're going to talk about pirates later on. So if the word slave or anything, enslavement, anything relatable to slaves pops up when we're dealing with pirates, I can definitely relate that because most pirates were actually African Americans that were saved from slave ships. So they became part of the crew.
This thing is flashing. He wants to tell you.
What color do you have?
It's flashing.
Orange. It went up to orange, so you went up to.
Then it stopped.
It just did it again, and that's why they call it ghost hunting because they never stand still.
Again. I got a question.
What do you got?
What's this for? Again.
What, the antenna?
Again.
To not poke Nathan in the eye with. So why don't we put it back in?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea because he only has
The
one eye.
last one was
He has a prosthetic.
Really?
He has a prosthetic eye,
Watch
so
the
he...
lasers. Who's got the laser on?
I didn't realize it flipped.
or maybe a flip
The
flop.
horses don't like the lasers, which is part of the reason why we don't use them here, because those windows, they'll obviously see those, and you flash right in there. Certain vehicles are very sensitive to those powerful lasers as well. I have set up car alarms in the past, so that's why I say
can't
keep
ask
it
questions
on the
online
ground,
or we'll be
and why
here
they don't
forever.
go to anybody
I think I
else.
scratched my back and accidentally flipped this little switch right
Yeah,
here.
and it stays on, unfortunately.
Sorry.
All right, let's get you three up off your butts and get you to work.
Hey, hey.
Yeah, good
So
question.
what's your name?
Good.
I know. This is actually a pretty decent night for
All
weather.
the wet blood.
No, that's paint.
Can you tell me when it's
What kind of question is that?
He said blood was the symbol of
He said, "Is the red on the building blood?"
Yes, because he said the word blood.
But
so
that's
he's
what sticks in
curious.
his head, so he's like, blood.
Yeah, shooting, kill me, kill people. Like, no, because the word blood was brought up. That's not what we're talking about.
Very, very long time.
Okay, so pay attention to the lights.
Everything we're talking about tonight is huge.
There you
a
go.
flash.
Yeah, it is. But listen.
Get out of the street.
Come on, let's go.
Like that steering. All right.
I thought it was kind of cheesy in the beginning, but this is kind of cool. What? When he was like on the ground, like pulling stuff out, I thought it was kind of cheesy, but this is really cool. It's kind of cool. Because we're gonna hear stories, and then when we freak out, then he's like, "You feel queasy when you get your safety." I was like, "Huh?" I feel
If you
sick.
play video games, your video games run on some type of electricity. So what that is doing is measuring how much electricity. So you see this guy right here? This is a parking meter. This is run by electricity. You should be able to put your device right next to it and get those lights to light up. So go ahead and try it. Turn it around so you can't see it. So we should be able to get some lights out of there.
See that?
See what happens when you go to school for a long time?
No.
We're going in here.
He went to ghost school, Nathan.
I wish I went to go to school.
He reads books, he said.
Okay, Nathan, let's not talk his ear off,
He went to
buddy.
Monsters University.
Wait, you guys don't want to just sit around and listen?
No, I want to listen. I wanna-
So,
You're going into a building?
no, unfortunately. I would tell you 99% of the locations down here do not allow folks like me to just come in and wander with strangers. So, with that said, welcome to your first beautiful sight of Charleston. You're in a parking lot. Lucky you. You made it. Good job. So, this space used to be something, which is why the other ghost tours will not come here, because there's nothing to see. This space used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney mansion. It actually sat in the front of this space, and then Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across, and we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. So, I like to give everybody the layout so everybody kind of knows where you're standing as we investigate the space. So, first and foremost, there's obviously going to be parked cars in here, so cameras, please be very careful when people are walking through. Just point your cameras at the ground. So, and also watch your lasers. I'm a bad dad with those, so just so you know. But spirit boxes, I am not going to be giving you turns. Sometimes times we'll get his number or the age gap between them. It's very uncanny. There's a big age gap back then, big age gap now, just so you know. Now, her father over in England was dying. This is part of the reason why she got married. He was trying to bring all of his kids home because he wanted to see them one last time. She didn't think he was dying. It's 1744. She got married. So you don't get married for citizenship or a green card back in 1744 because we're not even a country yet. So she married Charles out of love, and yes, she did remain a widow after his death. You have to remember he's over double her age, and yes, he died first. But anyway, she was correct. Her father did not die. Get rid of that, save a little bit more screen, and let you handle it how you need to. All right, perfect. You're back up and recording, so nice slow movements out of you. If you want to stay stationary, you can do that, or you can just make nice slow movements as you're walking around. So as far as your motion sensor, obviously we haven't seen much flash.
Right here.
Right.
Yep, it just turned red.
Color.
Changed red.
Go this way.
Walk around.
Walk this way. Oh, gosh.
And what does yours do?
I don't know. It didn't do much because I figured that I would be the kids were in, so it gives words.
Look, this says rule.
Did it flash?
I'm doing nothing.
So is it on?
You're listening for
Let's
clues.
see. I mean, I can't even barely hear it.
Then turn the volume up, honey. It's
No,
just
I
supposed
can't.
To be. It's just supposed to be crackling. That's what it's supposed
I
to
can
be.
hear it, but I don't understand what it says. Like, it's too fast. Like, I can't, like...
Let me listen. Heard novel.
Heard what?
Novel.
Novel. One says feature.
Feature. Player.
Don't put it in your mouth. Player and novel.
I've had this like strange cold.
Come over here, guys. Come over here.
So, you know,
Stay right here. That car's playing.
I've heard mother twice.
Mother twice.
Novel and player.
okay, so that must have been Nathan that walked by.
Did you hear anything, Misty?
He would have to be really, really close.
Yeah, this.
Mother and
I
novel.
clicked the
is all
button
she
on
said.
this
And
popped
player.
right back to it.
Play. And player.
Player. So, your word
Google
list.
uses.
When I want to see the list, hit the little right
Google
the white
what?
box on the right
That
to
is
the
not
word.
important.
Nope, the right hand side. Circle back. Yep.
Just listen first.
There you
You're
go.
gonna
It'll show you
hear
every
words.
word that we've had so far.
Only
and I'll
one
kinda
word,
scroll
not a whole
through it.
song. A word. So listen for
I
certain
see
words.
what I see in there. If there's anything, well, you got a lot so far. But I don't see anything that's really. Sorry, I keep getting your
God.
hand. I don't see any like specific terms that are gonna
I
pop
heard
up.
God.
God.
See anything, Madison?
See, I told you
No,
you'd get better.
I'm not really thinking this is. Because there's blue and black everywhere, so I don't really.
All right. So who else?
I
has
heard
some?
country.
Country.
Car.
All right, so now that you're getting used to it, I'm only going to write down the terms that are going to be relevant to where we are. Misty, what are you getting out of yours? It's not easy, is it?
Yeah, he goes, it's talking too fast.
If you just listen, you just gotta pay attention. I heard novel and I heard mother, mom and mother.
Mom and mother, or mother twice?
I can't remember. It
No,
was-
not sure. No,
yeah.
Don't remember. It's okay. I'll write them both down.
I knew it. Like, I'm pretty sure
Mom
it was.
really wouldn't have been a term.
I think
used
it was
a lot of
mother
times.
twice.
Yeah.
Heard very quickly.
Of course, it's all very quick. And they're as slow as I can make them. Again, do you see why I slow them down? Because otherwise you're just going to be listening to white noise.
Flashed 2 times.
What did it go up
What
to?
about this one?
What?
Hey.
What did it go up to?
I don't know.
Tragic.
I think
Little
it was
vague.
Yellow.
Little vague.
It only came up to right here.
Yeah,
Orange.
Right, you're,
2 times.
For the word questions.
okay.
So
Can
are
we
we
switch?
supposed to use all these simultaneously?
Try that one and you get this one.
I
What's
don't know
that?
if you want
Are we supposed to all use these simultaneously in application, like the lasers?
It really, honestly, it doesn't matter. As far as like what I normally do is I try to follow like the device that Tom has or the device that Nathan has. So if we're getting readings in one space, that's obviously
2.4.
where
It just popped up.
So the reason, by the way, the reason why I want 2.5 and higher is because again, his second dot is 2.5.
Let's flash by here and then
natural
again and
EMF
then
is
again.
1.1. So it'll go all the way up to 1.1. There's no point to measure, record anything that's below that.
Report.
But 2.5 and higher, I want people to see what's going on and see if it escalates. So if it starts escalating,
That was the first time it's done that since I was
yeah.
Jumper.
We'll take 2.4. I'm going to record it, but I want to see if it actually goes up higher. So at this point, just keep
Grandpa.
Got
It said
grandpa,
grandpa.
and you had grandmother earlier.
Grandmother, grandpa.
That's interesting.
Does he need to walk around?
Hey, Nathan, get off that curve. Get over here. Come on. Thank you,
I was
baby.
actually waiting for his part of it, basically. I
Yeah.
hate to make people feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I know we're a large group standing around a parking lot with a bunch of kids going around, but we don't need to be around his car with laser lights and cameras.
Yeah.
So scare us all. Well, again, there'll be a complaint later on. Yeah. So, now let's venture off a little bit. Let's go ghost hunting over here.
There we go.
It's going off.
Well, it was
The-
only because everybody's
Moving.
Oh,
I did hear the word arrive a minute ago.
Right. Okay. Hang on to that.
Austin. Honey, oh, your earbud's in? I didn't see your earbud. Just listen for certain words.
Flash the whole bunch.
Can you and my mother switch?
How about it?
So,
She said have. He said have.
I can only hear out of one ear, so I can't use that. I won't be able to hear.
You're not gonna.
No,
There's nothing on there.
you're not holding this phone. As
Just
in-
listen. Just listen what's going on.
It flashed. It
8.9.
was flashing many times.
Was
No,
it?
he can't. I don't think he can hold cameras. Only those can hold cameras.
Yeah.
Grandpa. Oh, it flashed again. It flashed
That
again.
thing keeps flashing. I'm waiting for it to go all the way to red. Let me know when it goes to red. Can you do that? You gotta watch it.
Wait, it came all the way
Bingo.
to red.
Just like we called it out. So that's the highest that thing will go. It's 25.
We go in. I did it again.
It came to red again. It's flashing a bunch of times.
Where the cameras, obviously you're both filming in this direction. That's good. Go ahead and put your laser straight at the ground.
Again.
See if we can get anything motion going on. too.
Nathan, move out of the way, baby.
And you're not getting anything on yours, even though it's got reds?
Wait, I think it flashed once. I think.
Bear.
Bear. I got bear.
Bear? Like the animal bear?
Yeah. Mushroom Bell.
Looks like you're a professional. Never seen anybody like literally outstretch it.
Hey, that went off. Went all the way to blue.
Blue is common here. And I usually tell people like you can ask for a specific color and see if it'll actually
End of
pop up.
times.
End of time.
These things are going.
Right, that's nice. That doesn't
What it
matter.
said.
We're just looking for words on that, Austin.
Relax. And it's
What? Credit? That's what you heard?
What was it?
Credit.
Army.
That's what you got?
Flash.
Army? That's good. We'll take Army. I mean, something else is probably going on. Julie, you got anything on yours?
Hello.
My name pops up here a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Did it? You heard it already?
Hello, my name.
Full service resident.
5.8.
Oh, it flashed. Promise. Hey,
You got Promise?
it flashed. It flashed.
2.9.
I heard it. It flashed. What color did it go to?
Only let him know when it changes to red, Nathan.
Only when it changes to red.
Austin.
I like Promise, and that's very specific to this location. Very specific.
Getting a lot of this.
Wait, what's it Pacific to?
I am going to tell you before we leave. I want to see what else pops up.
No, we're not. Before we go to the next spot.
Before we go to the next spot. I want to see if Julie can get one more phrase out of it before I give you guys all the answers.
Hey, for some reason, it looks like
3.7.
it's out.
It's all right here.
And I have like,
Put your lasers down.
look what
Brandon.
happened.
Put your lasers down. 3.5,
Shake it.
3.0,
Check it out.
3.2, 1.3.
Story. Heard story.
What'd you get?
Story.
Story.
I think flash one.
Brown.
What's it say?
Relationship.
What's it say?
Cruise.
Misty,
Cruise.
You got anything else?
I heard brown.
Browns?
What is the bottom?
Ambient temperature.
I got
Huh? Okay.
Is that love?
I don't have to write this down
Bathroom.
'cause it's doing it for me.
Bathroom? I got bathroom. Bathroom.
Going crazy.
cause.
She got bathroom.
Someone's got to go to the bathroom.
I got a cause.
All right, you guys gave me plenty.
25.
So let's actually move up to this corner. I'll get everybody the answers. How about that?
We are 25.
Flash one.
Oh no. That must not be important.
Is that what it says? Logan?
Yeah, we're talking.
All right, so here's what I'm excited about. Video cameras, you can actually stop your cameras at this.
We were in Rome a couple years ago.
Dylan, you can turn on the camera. I heard USA.
The wagons. Yeah, man. All right.
But this is granite, so that's everything you're looking at where there's so much shaping because they were shaped by hand, first off. Second, it's water damage. So that's why they're all uneven. It's probably way more even when they laid them.
Pay attention, bud.
At least it's still woke.
Well,
We're gonna stop right here.
hey, hold it in your hand like this. Hold it in your hand like this, okay? Thank
It's
you.
very blue in this whole area.
Hold on, listen.
So you definitely want to keep one of us in view. All right, I'm gonna have you guys kind of huddle around and with the cameras on either end, maybe facing each other if you can. So that way you get one way down the alley or the other. So this is a quiet area. We're next to a hotel, so obviously my voice changed. I'm boring Brandon apparently because he's gonna yawn. So I'm gonna call out yawns all night if that happens. I'm just that guy because I know these three can be long. But oh, you're good. You're recording. Did you guys start your recordings on your way in?
You want me to turn this thing on?
Not yet. Yeah, we're not gonna use emotion at all. It's all about the regular EMF. So
Scholar.
the last, yeah, that would be me. The last crosswalk we came across. See how quick I am? That's where the original Charlestown walls used to be. Charleston used to be called Charlestown, the walled city. It was one of 3 walled cities in the United States at the time. So where we are now, we're inside the walls. This is one of the first streets we ever had. As you can notice, there's no tours down here either. They all tell like some crazy boo hag story, but I'm actually going to give you the real history of what this place is. You said you heard the name Elijah. Did you get any other names that popped up?
I heard USA and renovation. Those are the only-
Renovation. And wordless, did you get any names besides Ellie?
Click on the thing and see if there's anything else.
Oh, he got,
So as he's looking through that,
Envision, Double, and Logan.
Logan was back at the picture.
Grandpa.
I have
Yeah,
the full list of
Grandpa's
residents of
champion.
every person that's ever lived down here. It's not a very lengthy list, but I keep getting the same names over and over and over again. Every 6 to 7 weeks, you guys will hear the names Benjamin and John.
Stop.
Very common names. So when I say people live down here, I'm only talking like 2 to 6 people at a time. It's not like there was a plethora of houses down here. So, and they were shotgun houses, so they're very tiny. This would have been a poor neighborhood. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. But Benjamin and John, that's 2 out of 5 people that lived here in 1801. When I get those names every 6 to 7 weeks, it kind of raises an eyebrow a little bit, like what the heck is going on down here? You're standing on Belgian blocks. These blocks. Hey, how are you? So Or what? Oh, the Belgian blocks. They're made of granite. So, in a nutshell, granite is not supposed to hold any type of electromagnetic field at all. So, Tom, I'm actually going to have you put your device on the ground, and I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm sure Brandon will help me out too. I want to see if any EMF actually comes out of the bricks
Well,
itself.
it's been hovering now between 1.7 and 1.8.
So that's probably coming from the building. So I'm going to just keep an eye on it as I kind of go through the history and see if it escalates any way, shape, or form, because technically we should not be getting anything out of it above a 1.1. So, with that said, these Belgian blocks coming made from granite are said to basically hang on to the consciousness of memories. When you hear the term limestone, which is basically a paranormal term that is said to stir up any kind of activity, and it's not really doing much, so we're going to keep it there for another minute. But again, that's the whole purpose here. These stones are said to hang on to that consciousness of the things that actually happened here and spitting it back to us. Now, in the 6 to 7 week long loop that I told you I hear those terms, we're in like week 1, 2 right now. I was not expecting y'all to hear Benjamin and John. Yes, the video was. Okay, they locked up? Yeah. So when that happens, we're just going to hold the front button down until it resets itself, like it'll turn off. And then you just turn it back on again. Okay.
Hey, don't sit in the water. Okay? There's, get up, Nathan.
No, the front.
Yeah, so
The front. There
that's
you go.
nasty.
Yeah, just hold it on.
Come over here.
There you go. Back on again. And then you can hit the record button. So, that's called the stone tape theory when things loop around like that. Again, I wasn't expecting it tonight because we're in week 1, 2. But again, when it does happen, it's a holy cow moment. Yeah, we're not getting anything out of this guy. So, you can hang on to that again. Before people lived here, Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here. Hence the name Lodge Alley. So we will get terms wrapped around Freemasons as well. Things like, obviously, Freemason, Mason, Brick, and we've even had the term Illuminati show up. Plenty of times. 6 times last year, and so far 3 times this year. It actually just happened a few nights ago. And somebody heard it on our way into the alley. So, first off, who the heck is saying the word Illuminati on the radio? Nobody should be talking about the Illuminati on the radio. Second, why are we only hearing it in this space? It only shows up when we're here. So take that for what it's worth. Very interesting space, and yes, I lollygag here on purpose, just because we're on a loop. We never know what we're actually going to capture. I'm basically letting the video cameras and the spirit box recording hopefully capture some evidence for us, because we will capture a lot of orbs with your specific camera. The next space we're going to go to is another alley. However, I cannot take you through it. Why? I've been kicked out. That's the whole point. You guys have the gizmos and the gadgets, the blinky lights, and the noisemakers. So I don't take you all the way through it. I tell the story of that space outside of it, because it is considered residential at the end. I will tell you why I got kicked out once we get there, because that's the fun part of the story, why Nick got in trouble. So, but again, when we get to that space, it's very interesting. As we exit the alley, both video cameras will turn off your cameras, just because we're going to be cutting through a neighborhood in order to get there. Definitely still no lasers, and again, we'll get you back to work here shortly. But definitely spirit box work as we kind of go through. And again, the EMF readings are going to go off just because of the parking meters. The electrical lines for those are underneath the streets, and it's strong enough to make them go off. So let's head up to the next alley.
I heard Gray.
Capture up there.
That a name?
Keep recording your videos.
Grace.
What?
Grace or Gray.
Yeah, Grace.
Grace?
Yeah.
Or Gray. We heard different things. I don't know.
I can't hear you when I can only hear out of one ear, so I got to take it out if I want to hear you.
I know it's difficult to listen to Zach and me at the same time. So use the other ear. She's deaf in one, and she wants to put that stir the earbud in.
It showed me tilt. Most wall material is very powerful.
It has the word mall in
May
it.
31st.
What?
May 31st.
Is this the only granite alley in Charleston?
No.
No.
It almost like my name. Okay, Mom.
I just got over the flu 3 weeks ago. For 2 weeks, 6 of it.
And in this humidity,
Well, it's not bad. I'll tell you what, when I had the flu, it went straight to my chest, and that was horrible. I
I heard prison.
Prison?
I've never been so sick in my life. And I got this from my son. I already know that.
Be very inconspicuous because those people do not pay to be filmed, just so to not look like a YouTuber. But at the same time, very perfect. You're in the right spot. As we love what we're actually doing. So, Happens all the time. Hopefully,
I heard Truist Park. That's weird.
This space
From where
used to
we're
be
from,
called
Truist
Duelers
Park.
Alley, 'cause
I've
this is
heard
where
it
all the
on here.
duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. Not all of them, but a good portion of them. We all tell the story of one specific duel, but of course, you're ghost hunting. This is a lot different than your campfire ghost story. So what happened down here?
Here's Constitution.
There's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. Somebody heard the word Brown earlier, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so a little far away for me to actually call it relevant, but if it was here, obviously I would tie it to this space. He moves down here because his fiancée, Amanda, just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash. The attorney thinks that the doctor is just after her money. He tells her to get rid of the doctor. To prove that he's not after Amanda's money, he moves to Charleston, and the coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a very good start. So as he's basically going into his new place of residence, there's a gunman inside that's going to try to kill them. So somebody's walking by and sees what's going on because he knows the coachman. His name is Ralph Isaacs. Now you're ghost hunting, so of course we're going to stop on Ralph for just a moment. Ralph has the same initials as to where the doctor came from. R.I. is Ralph Isaacs or Rhode Island. We do get those initials all the time. Sometimes they're a little bit separated, but they do show up. Now, I just gave you the two main characters of the story, which is Ralph and the doctor. So we just need the secondary clue so we know who it belongs to. But Ralph tells the doctor, you don't want to stay here, man. He's got a gunman inside. He's going to try to kill you. But I got some friends at 59 Church Street where you can rent a room and you'll be safe.
heard Dad.
He takes him up on the offer, and Ralph and the doctor become friends. The doctor's practice starts to take off, and he's making his own money now, which means Amanda's moving down soon. He becomes known as the whistling doctor. Every haunted city you guys will ever visit has a whistling cliched ghost, so kind of keep that in mind. Everybody that we all know the story down here, but the whistles actually work in this specific story because of this specific alley. I'm going to explain further in just a moment. But Ralph and the doctor actually go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. That's the way the hierarchy worked. So they talk about these plays on the way home. They go see William III from Shakespeare, and they start arguing over the new actress that was there. The doctor thought she was fantastic, Ralph not so much. It gets a little heated, and Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée back home in Rhode Island, and then they obviously go their separate ways. Now, Ralph is from here. He has friends at the newspaper. He puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. The doctor sees the newspaper ad and rebuttals with, let's go to Duelers Alley. We're going to settle this. So they come down, they take their 10 paces, they turn, the doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He didn't want to kill his friend. He just wanted to prove the point that he had the courage and bravery to show up to the fight, and he's willing to forgive whatever the argument was about. But Ralph has his one shot, and he puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. The doctor doesn't die either, but Ralph made his point. The doctor drops, but his friends pick him up, carry him home to 59 Church Street, and he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. He's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed it out himself. So, probably tried to save himself, but failed, which is why he lasted 10 days after the gun wound. So the campfire part of this is that when you walk down this alley, you can actually hear the whistles from the doctor. I used to take my groups down there. Of course, I was out of bounds because I was not supposed to take my groups all the way down. But it was all about the voice recorders because we weren't using earbuds yet with the spirit boxes that we have. So it was turn those down. We're going to use the voice recorder. You'll listen to it later. Let me know if you hear any whistles. We used to capture a few here and there. A lot of them you can debunk pretty quickly because all the locals know the story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland Street, the street we're on, or Queen Street on the other side, throws a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night on my way home for meeting with you guys. We're going to end at that corner. My garage is right there. So every night I throw a whistle down the alley. It's just something I do. Now, I will tell you, lately, we have been getting a lot of songs with whistling in it. So keep in mind, the Maroon 5 song, Moves Like Jagger, has some whistling in it. That will show up here a lot. The song Guns N' Roses, Patience, that will show up here a lot. And it's usually just the whistling part. No lyrics whatsoever. I've been catching that more and more as you guys have been actually pointing them out. But they also say you can hear gunshots down here. I just don't have any proof of it. So for the whistling, I have some vague ones that, I can not debunk of it being an actual person, just so you know. Let's talk about how I got booted out of here. That's the fun part. This alley didn't always come all the way through. Blocked off on the Cumberland Street side where we're standing. So the bricks on the other side are older. Those are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's one full handprint from one of those slave kids and some fingerprint swipes in those bricks. Basically, for those of you that don't know what sun-dried bricks are, they didn't have a brick oven to heat them and make them bricks. They had to turn them in the sun to be able to get them heated evenly all the way around. So there is a full handprint at the end, but I treat that brick the same way I do a grave. I told you at the Pinckney Mansion site, we're not going to hang out near our grave, and that kid is not going to stare at that brick in the afterlife. However, my teams always wanted to hover with an EMF meter or a spirit box and try to get some activity out of it. Well, November 26th of 2020, they did exactly that. It's outside a gentleman's dining room window. He was not very pleased with me and my team that I had that night. So he come out screaming. My daughter thought it was great. She just that night, and Dad didn't know that. So the next day was Thanksgiving. I worked in retail for over 20 years. I finally took a Thanksgiving off. So the next day after that was November 28th. I'm giving you very specific dates on purpose, by the way. It's not just rando. I get a phone call from the tourism office asking me to either reroute my tour or go down halfway like everybody else, because that's as far as we're allowed to go. I thought it's not fair for my groups of 10 to be working around groups of 20, which could go all the way to 60 people down there. So I'm going to tell the story out here, but reroute the tour. I tell my team that night, we're going to wing it. We're going to see what happens. I have no idea what we're going to be fully discussing, and I didn't even believe the pirate story that I was going to get myself into. Somebody hears the name Anne before I can even tell them we're going to be discussing Anne Bonny. I'm like, really? I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person. So we get there, I tell what I knew about Anne Bonny, and somebody else hears the number 300, and I have no idea what it means. So I'm going through the data the next morning. I did the research. We were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial.
Wow.
And I've been getting clues there ever since. I will tell you that that space is a hit or miss. I hate for that to be the ending of our time together, but again, Anne Bonny is said to be seen all over town or heard all over town. We're taking a risk, and I'll explain why I actually go back to the space more so than just that number 300 that keeps us going there. But I didn't believe this story at all because I had been at the Powder Magazine dozens of times with no activity whatsoever. You have to imagine, anytime I walk into a museum, I have a spirit box running and a K2 meter in my pocket every single time. I never got any activity from that space until that specific night. So we're going to go up to see a cemetery and kind of check things out up there and tell you what's going on, why every ghost tour talks about one specific cemetery, and then we're going to get ready for that pirate craziness that's going on across the street at the Powder Magazine. So hopefully we got some good footage of you standing very still. I appreciate you, Dylan, very much. It's a nice, easy video to watch. But yeah, have we heard anything or seen anything on the spirit boxes before we move on?
This thing is stayed on yellow the whole time.
It's from the building behind you.
I found Respawn, Chef, Wedding,
That one.
and whatever this is.
You had wedding?
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Oh, and Wall. And Valley.
Stigmata.
Yeah, that's not really here.
Stigmata.
Yeah. Again, that app is designed to try to scare people. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Have you guys heard anything down there? I know you, Misty,
Not
you were like
really.
super focused on the doctor story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing?
No.
All right. Anything
I
here?
just put my, I didn't have
Yeah,
them.
I didn't think you did. All right.
I heard
let's head
Dad.
to this church
I heard
cemetery.
Dad at one point, but you said that that's
What was it?
not Dad.
Dad.
You said that that's not.
There.
Yep. So, in a nutshell, remember that the alley didn't go all the way through. So otherwise they had to walk all the way down Queen Street. And you guys all seen how long that alley is to carry a dead body. That they'd have to go all the way down to Queen Street and come around to get to St. Philip's to drop the body so they could go celebrate the winter. So they created this little gateway right here. That gate actually has wrought iron on it and it always stays locked because the way the property lines are now. So it no longer belongs to, like, Philadelphia isn't part of the church anymore. So, but that's the reason why that gate is actually there. Not many people actually know that. So now you do. But yeah, have a seat. I do like Daniel's. I'm going to kind of go through that, and I like the word current.
Hey,
Actually, you'll
careful
see
with
on
this
there.
right here, bud.
Justice.
Justice. Have a seat. We're going to chill here for just
Yeah, it just popped up on us.
Justice.
I'm going to sit this way because I had one.
So, good stuff. Every ghost tour stops at this cemetery to my right. I'm going to tell you why. But I'd like to point out a few things about the cemetery first, because I'm sure you guys realize I'm all about the history and the way the things are laid out around here. So, that cemetery has two different sides. You're sitting on the eastern side, so if you're from Charleston and belong to the church, you can be buried over here. Charles Pinckney, the husband, and Charles Pinckney, the nephew, are both buried over here because they're from Charleston. They were born here. Across the street is for everybody else. So if you're not from here, that's where you go.
Hey, look, Bill.
No, roach. There's a bug outside. I know. So your seventh vice president, John Calhoun, is actually across the street He's not from here. They actually shuffled him back and forth trying to figure out where he was supposed to go, and it turns out he's not from here. He just lived here for a very long time. So that side of the cemetery is usually open to the public during the daytime, and you're obviously more than welcome to walk through there. Calhoun is the big sarcophagus right in the middle of it. You can't miss it. So it takes about 8 men to move that thing. So they just imagine him trying to figure out where he's supposed to go, and they moved him, I think, 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. But they're all up there because every ghost tour goes there because of the sign right inside the cemetery. The sign reads, "There's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost." The reason for that is because in 1888, a young lady dies by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. Now, we just talked about initials, and it's going to seem very cheesy, but I've seen it and heard it for myself. Sue Howard Hardy. Again, I see it all the time. So her initials will pop up even on the word list that Austin has. So it happens all the time. But anyway, she dies 6 days after her stillborn child. Very sad ending. They're making it some big elaborate drama. In 1987, a local photographer is taking pictures of all of the cemeteries. He's putting a book together. He captures a full apparition in one of his photographs. So, it's 1987. He does not have the tech that we have today, so he has to send it to Kodak. I don't think I have to explain what Kodak is to most of this group, right? Yeah. So, Kodak can't debunk the picture either. So, for guys like me, this photograph is like gold. It's actual proof of an apparition in a photograph right here where I live. But it is cursed to females. But that's what the other tours will not tell you. Females that handle this the same way in a cell phone or tablet format can get the same symptoms we talked about at the beginning. The headache, the nausea, the dizziness. So please, when I show you the picture, please do not touch the tablet. Pregnant females are probably not going to have a good pregnancy based on the gist of the story of a stillborn child. Again, I don't want a crew in here where all of a sudden somebody had a great vacation and 9 months later I cursed your family. So don't touch the tablets, but I will show you the picture of why everybody's up there. And they're all up there taking pictures with their phones in hopes of capturing the apparition. So if in the event it actually frees up a little bit, I will send our cameras over there to kind of get us some footage, but I'll go 2 by 2 so you can see the photograph. This is the full picture. The apparition is right here. You're looking at her back. This is the top of her head with the baby basket next to her. So again, and that is Sue's grave. This is probably another instance where the baby's buried with mom. So this is the full picture. Your apparition is right here. You're looking at her shoulders, the top of her head. The baby basket is next to her.
Oh wow, I see it.
Don't touch.
She's like laying straight.
So she's praying over her own grave.
Why are we allowed to touch it?
It's cursed.
Why are you touching
Because I'm a guy and it's in my tablet. It's cursed to females.
it? Wait, it's cursed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not. You just have. How are you not being cursed?
Because
It's for
ladies.
females.
It's only cursed for girls.
Yeah, women.
You're calling us a girl?
No, but you don't need to touch it.
You can do whatever you want.
Let's get your mindset going on pirates, and then we'll go across the street for our last stop. Does anybody see the burning gas lamp off in the distance?
Burning what?
The burning gas lamp, the orange light down there.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the pirate house. So it has a big anchor on the front of it, so when you guys are walking around town, you can obviously spot it pretty easily, but somebody does live there, so don't go in his backyard looking for ghosts. He also gets angry, and don't ask me how I know that, but it is one of those things that I do. So that's where Blackbeard's men would come off their ships, have a place to stay. Meet with
You're talking right there from the distance?
Yep. It's on the other side of the cemetery. And there's a courtyard right in between it. So there's like a little alleyway that goes back to what they call the Pirates' Courtyard. So, but the reason why I know, well, people know so many things about this place is because of Blackbeard's men coming over, and there were a lot of pirates where they needed somewhere to stay. So that's where they would go. The interesting thing about that place is that they dug a tunnel underneath that pirate house going 1 block away towards Dock Street Theater. The reason they did that is because Dock Street Theater at the time was called Planters Hotel. It was a whorehouse, a playhouse, and a hotel. Obviously, you can see the attraction with pirates. I'll keep it PG because we have little ones. But the playhouse was another reason why pirates would go there, because pirates were our first stagehands. They were going over there to work in between bartering with all of the locals. We just filled in that tunnel in the 1990s. We're below sea level here. I don't know why it took us so long to fill in that crazy tunnel. There's a lot of rumors around that tunnel. First one being that Blackbeard buried some of his treasure there. We all know that that's not true because it's in North Carolina, not South Carolina. And the second rumor is that that tunnel went all the way to the end of the peninsula, which I'm going to call that one out too. They say that that was the way that the pirates would sneak into Charleston. I'm going to call that because first off, are you going to hide a pirate ship in the bay? Like, that's just not going to work out. You know, it's obviously a pirate ship. And I can't see 40 to 60 men digging a tunnel that far just to sneak into a place to earn a few coins. Like I just don't see that happening. I can see it being from one block to the next, which is, about 500 feet maybe. So again, kind of take that for what it's worth. I do a lot of debunking, as you guys can surely tell. So everybody's yawning, so I'm going to go put us across the street and get us back to work. So let's go over and talk about this crazy female pirate.
Mom, what does it say?
Go across the street. Hey, we just heard Anne.
Yeah, we heard Anne.
That's
As soon as
weird.
we walked in,
It says exorcism.
exorcism. I don't think we need to do.
Oh, there's
exorcism.
hands.
Cute. Do you have a drink?
Nope, just mine.
God demonstrates.
We can get something in the
We'll
car.
find a place with some water here in a little bit.
You're fine.
Actually, if somebody wants to run to the vending machines over there, there are water bottles in there, right across the street in the garage. I'm good, but I am going to get started regardless of this is a walk over story.
I'm gonna have to be helpful one. And
Do you want me to
Nathan,
turn this
you're
back
fine.
on or leave it?
Let me get through the story, then we're definitely going to turn it back on, and we're definitely going to get Brandon's lasers turned back on as well, because we definitely want to use them in this space.
Who
So,
has the lasers?
Dylan's holding them.
Oh,
right now.
okay.
Brandon
Yeah,
ran across
then
the-
Nathan did not need to hold those.
Yeah, no. He cannot.
We're going to be talking first about the little tiny building over there with the crosses on it. So because there's so much history here, I will be talking very quickly through this, but you're going to have the recording so that way you can actually go through it slower if you want to. Just want to make sure everybody gets back to work pretty quickly, especially with little people here. So the little tiny building over there is our Gunpowder Magazine. It is a museum now, but those are not crosses on the building. Those are earthquake bolts. The just behind earthquake bolts is that they are turnbuckles. If we have another earthquake like what we did in 1886, the just behind it is you can turn them and it'll straighten the building back up again. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work. So I bring these up because those are the first set of earthquake bolts that we actually put in Charleston, because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. It was finished in 1713. We are here because this is a familiar building to basically the time frame of Anne Bonny the pirate. So,
We're talking about the building in front,
correct,
the wood building.
correct,
Okay.
in the back. So the brick building are our apartment buildings now. He has no water, so he must have ate his money. That sucks. Was it out of water?
No one take cash.
Damn it.
It only takes cash?
I have cash.
Oh, I was gonna say I have a couple bucks if you need it.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Figure it out.
So
We'll just get some at the end.
we talked about that Charlestown Wall earlier when we were back at Lodge Alley. The street, basically where the garage sits now, is where the wall stood. It went up past the Powder Magazine, started going south behind me, keeping the Gunpowder Magazine locked into the corners of the walls. If it gets attacked from a pirate ship from 3 blocks away at the water, or a Revolutionary warship, those cannonballs are going to have a hard time getting through the 35-inch thick walls. We're going to pretend that they do, and blows up the gunpowder. There's sand underneath those shingles that is designed and put there to go up in the air with an explosion and then fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. So it's another great idea, but that doesn't work either. We had another powder magazine closer to the battery. It got hit, sand went up, the building burned to the ground. It doesn't exist. This one's just never been attacked, even though it served in 7 different wars, including the Civil War and a separate rebellion. So again, we're here because Anne Bonny was here at the same time that this was being built. So 1708 is when she came over here with her father and his mistress. Try to follow me on this one because there's a lot of twists. I'll slow down when I can. So the mistress is Anne's mother. Is everybody with me so far?
Yep.
All right, so the 3 of them are running away from his wife. How angry was she that she got to get on a boat and leave your country to come here? They land in Georgetown. You guys passed through on your way back here from Myrtle Beach today. So Dad buys a plantation in Georgetown, but Mom dies pretty quickly. That means he has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown to sell anything from the plantation to keep things afloat. Anne back home in Ireland was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants when she was only like 10 or 12 years old with a knife to the belly. I put that mentality in the back of your brains on purpose to show you what kind of person this young lady was. We're going to fast forward. This building's done in 1713. Pirates are coming through town in 1715. Anne is stoked. She falls in love pretty quickly. She's about 16, 17 years old at this time. So, the first guy she falls in love with, James Bonny. You can already see where this is going. Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. They run away to Jamaica, they get married. Anne Cormac becomes Anne Bonny, your most famous female pirate of the Golden Age. But James Bonny, her new husband, is a privateer. He is not Captain Jack Sparrow like she was what she was hoping for. This guy is a spy and a coward in her eyes. A few years later, she falls in love again. Guy number 2. This is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. the real person that they actually based Captain Jack Sparrow off of, so everybody knows who this guy is. He has his own ship and wants to be part of it. You can't put a girl on a pirate ship. Why? They're bad luck. It'll bring, obviously bad luck to the crew. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy, you can become part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this because back home in Ireland, Dad used to hide her as a boy to keep her away from his wife. So she's good with the cross-dressing. She just wants to be a pirate. Let's put 2 and 2 together. Adults, being a female in his quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate guy on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a female. He drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby over here. These are friends of mine. They'll help you. Come back later. We'll figure it out. She comes back, but with no baby. We have no idea what happened to the child. She's also dressed like a female, her actual gender. This makes Jack pretty angry, and she's going to make him even more mad by flirting with the pirate crew that he just captured when they're down below deck. So, guy number 3. Yes, I know. There's a lot of them. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females dressed as males just to be pirates. This young lady's name is Mary Reed. So her and Mary become friends, possibly lovers, because we'll never know for certain, and Mary becomes part of the crew. The British find out where they are. They send their entire fleet of ships to come take down one pirate ship. So Anne and Mary are the only 2 pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks because they don't know how to use the cannons. They're obviously going to get taken. As they're being arrested by the British, Anne looks at her captain and beau, Calico Jack, and says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." The word dog being very prominent here on our spirit boxes. The judge wants to see the 2 men by themselves that fought back so valiantly after he's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken pirates that wouldn't come up and fight. So they're already dead and gone. Anne and Mary go in front of the judge. They reveal their gender, hoping to save themselves, and he doesn't care that they're female. He's still going to hang them. "We plead our bellies," was the last thing they said, meaning they're both claiming to be pregnant. You can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. He sends them both back to jail, but Dad is still here in the Charleston area with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne and brings her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, guy number 4, because we don't know about Mary Reed. And she has 4 children and dies at the age of 84. Yes, very abrupt ending. I know. 84. Yeah. Mary Reed dies a year later in 1721 from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. Take that for what it's worth. It's probably scurvious and bumpy and gross and whatever else you want to come up with. Spirit boxes. I only left out 2 things on purpose that I can prove because this is pirate lore. I've read a million books on pirates and Anne Bonny specifically, but I do know for certain the names of her parents. That would be the father and the mistress. And as far as Calico Jack's ship, I also know the name of that. Everything else is fair game. Y'all know what the hell you're doing by now because we've been working together for nearly 2 hours. Probably over than that. So, but I am going to keep you for 1 more minute before I spread everybody out. I told you all at the beginning of this tour that people have passed out on my tours. This is actually relevant to the story. Back in September of last year, it's much cooler than this. We're all very sweaty and hot. I can see the glistening foreheads. But somebody next to me, as soon as I bring us into the space, the kid next to me goes white as a ghost and starts to pass out. He drops like a wet noodle. I have to pick him up by his armpit. His boyfriend picks him up on the other side of him. We carry him over to that wall, which is where we're all going to end, by the way, and we get him some water from the vending machine. It was working at the time. Sorry, dude. And he's feeling much better. I then tell the story.
He might be the one that's going to pass out tonight. He can get his water.
It's important to know that these people had no idea what you guys now know of what I just told you about the pirates. So once I spread everybody out with their devices, they pull me aside and say, "Nick, we have to tell you something." I'm like, "What's going on?" "We are 2 transgender males," meaning I had 2 females dressed as males on my tour, just like Anne and Mary. It made sense as to why one of them almost passed out the minute we entered the space. Again, these are the uncanny things that I see all the time. Luckily, I didn't have to call the paramedics that night. But it was one of those instances, like, I can't make this stuff up. Like, I'm a good writer, but come on, this is good stuff. Like, and it's actual evidence for me. So, cameras. You can go one of 2 places. If you want to go back over to the cemetery where there's no group, just make sure there's no tour group over there, you guys can go back over there. Get us a little bit of footage of that cemetery. You know, obviously with your camera, we'll be able to read the sign. We won't be able to read it with yours, Maddie, sorry. But you can also go to the front of the Powder Magazine, and that includes the lasers. So, Brandon, you can actually go either way. With the cemetery and the front of the Powder Magazine, make sure your lasers stay on the ground. Otherwise, you're going to be flashing people if you go above the ground. It's really cool to kind of watch those lasers over headstones. So again, I told you there's not a whole lot of activity in those spaces, but we just never know what we're going to actually capture. I still get things relevant to Sue's story, but we are going to spread out around here, turn up those spirit boxes. Definitely going to use your REM pod here because it's not an EMF area like what we saw at the Pinckney Mansion site. But again, it's the little white button in the back.
O
and
and 2. O and 2.
O and 2.
Mine says pizza and Y.
Pizza and Y. But 0 and 2 is like the year of Anne Bonny's trial backwards.
It just says pizza.
2-0.
Okay, this thing's great.
I told you, like, this is a weird space for motion. So I would ask for specific colors out of it just to see what you're going to get. But yeah, let's just stay out of the way of the other tours. Let's spread out. Let's have some fun.
I want to go as close to that house as possible. Women. I should just type down the stuff over here instead of yelling it out.
How do we know?
That is insane. Jesus. Farmer's house.
Jesse. Jesse, virgin.
Virgin or burn? $15.
False.
$75. Travel.
Man, it feels like forever.
Just the Way You Are by Bruno Mars is played twice.
Rock and roll.
Did you go across the street? Or?
Yeah, I just went over there.
This is all the stuff that we've heard so far. Just the Way You Are by Bruno Mars is played like 3 times.
15? Father Travel? Well, you guys, I mean, those are going on a loop, so you guys probably heard it as the song was still playing,
Yeah.
so it's going to go through it at least that long.
Yeah. But yeah, those are the ones we heard from
I
the
like
time we
Father
came
and
over here.
Travel, like that's a big one. So, Ann, you want to tell us what your dad's name was, what your father's name was?
Like I said, I'm gonna let.
It says pool.
Let me take a look at that thing.
He's
See what you got.
He's got a stuffy nose. You're not gonna be able to drink anymore.
What?
You're not gonna be able to drink anymore when I give it to him. I don't want you to get the cold. Okay?
So we can give it to Austin?
That was the other piece. Thomas Pinckney, when he was in that battle, he was leading the army. That's why I got excited about the word army showing up too.
What's the thing about the baseball?
I'm listening.
No, those are
Travis Darno just hit a lot of home runs.
Travis.
clay. So basically the way they made those is one guy one clay over his leg, so that way they can overlap on each one. That's why they're shaped like that. This building is just super interesting. It's got a groin vaulted ceiling on the inside of it too. So there's 8 pillars on the outside that make up the entire thing, but they all meet in the middle. Like there's another pillar in the center of the building. So it's a groin, basically. That's why they call it a groin vaulted ceiling on the inside. But there's sand in between that groin vault and the shingles that you're seeing now. Like you can lift up a shingle and see sand from early 1700s when it was being built, because sand doesn't disintegrate. So it's still there.
Crazy.
They did a few repairs on the building before they turned it into a museum that we now know. So
Oh, it is a museum.
yeah. Oh yeah, you can go visit it. It's a great spot to get out of our heat or cold, depending on what time of year you're here. It's like $5 to take the 30-minute tour, and you get to see all the uniforms from the things that it served, all the weaponry. Like it's all still inside. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's cheap. It's like $5 a head. That's the cool thing about it.
Nothing happening on it.
I used to have season pass here because they get earlier than like I can do the Amazon sometimes. So I was going there just for their gift shop because of the books that would launch from local authors about history and pirates or whatever else was coming out that year.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I was coming in here like, I don't know, 8 or 9 times a year, you know, just because I find the building fascinating. But I was always running equipment and never had any activity out of it until I started bringing the tours here.
Gotcha.
So again, it's a weird spot, but we still get a lot of activity out of this space.
You said you just lived down the street, right?
No, my garage is over there.
Garage. Oh, okay, got
Yeah, I live about an hour from here.
See, I have 13 fingers. You said 12. Well, I guess I have more fingers than you.
They're keeping
Bad
it.
news.
Bad
Bad
news.
news.
1, 2.
I got Sparrow and number 1.
Sparrow, Captain Jack Sparrow. Captain Jack.
3.3, 3.6,
The Oracle.
3.9.
Skip these parts.
Just hadn't done anything. 3.8. until
The
I got over there.
Oracle.
I started walking through.
Yeah, Matrix stuff going on.
Normally get those.
I have 99 fingers. I have way more than you.
That's a little nutty.
1,
That's
2,
unusual.
skip
for
these
this space.
2.5, 3.1,
1,000,
3.5.
2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. Oh, you want to go? Yo, Dad.
Yes, sir.
Skip these parts.
So it was Sparrow.
9,
Number 1.
Number 1.
Just now.
That's the one I forgot.
1 million, 2 million.
Grand Slam, but I think they're talking about
Braves breakfast?
Grand Slam.
Denny's breakfast.
That was Braves. They hit
Yeah, that's Braves news.
Right on. Good.
I'm assuming they're winning since they hit a Grand Slam.
12 to 4.
That
Oh
doesn't-
my God.
Believe.
They had a grand slam the other night and lost.
It's just more Braves news. You need to
It
believe.
says champion.
You need to believe they're going to win another
That's a
World
good one
Series.
too.
Because we were talking about baseball.
15.
Passport.
You guys have father too and travel.
Children.
Strange.
You guys are getting good at this.
This is Stranger Things.
I heard.
Strange.
Again, I'm going to look at that list as a whole in the morning. That's why I like using that one. I don't have to write it all down.
Foul ball by Darno. Yeah, that's baseball.
All right, guys. I'm not getting like a lot of super things crazy over here, so let's go ahead and bring it on over.
Yeah.
Some pretty good ones at the beginning, like we had women show up. I will get a lot of female gender.
I got Farmer's House. That was interesting.
Father and travel came up, like you had those right next to each other, so that's pretty good.
3.0.
The readings are odd. So again, this is not a space where I expect any numbers to actually show up here. So when they do, it usually means something else is going off too. So when I'm spot checking things, that's why I write down all of your readings. The word list gave us the word champion. I'm excited about that because we still get terms relative to Philadelphia Alley over here. So I'll get like tournament, duel, pistol. I'll get things like that all the time. We're not that far from it. We're only half a block away, you know, from because we'll get things that'll kind of bleed over a little bit. Julie, did you get anything? Okay. So again, this is a hit or miss location. I think we started off strong and we had with that weird readings kind of kept me like, all right, let me see
John.
what happens.
T.
John Rackham was Calico Jack's real name.
I
John
got
shows up
T.
here all the time. Tea, like as in drinking tea? Yep. Very interesting word list indeed. I do like John because that's definitely
T.
relevant. And of course, you guys finally get him something to drink, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Cash out.
Yeah, money terms show up here too. So, this is a little lighter than what I normally see. I didn't see a whole lot of super specifics where I was like, holy cow, look at this, but we never know what we're actually going to find in the morning. Again, what we find in real time is only 40% of actual true evidence. The 60% comes out of going through the media. So that's why I give it to you. We didn't have any crazy readings come out of that other than here. We did have a couple of spikes at the Pinky Mansion site, but I've been there so long I kind of expect it. So, but let me show you who the mugshots are at this location so everybody kind of gets a gist, and it just reminds me to give you the correct answers, because sometimes if I don't show you the pictures, I don't give you the answers to the questions, and it leaves you guys hanging. So, Anne Bonny, this is one of the few pictures I could find of her with a shirt on. Reason being, she used to bare a breast to show men that who she just killed was killed by a woman. So again, kind of a hardcore chick here. So everybody likes to, you know, depict her as some kind of voluptuous vixen, obviously red hair, you know, the Irish whatever. I've seen other pictures of her where she actually looks very mannish. Like, it would be easy to portray her as a man on a pirate ship. The name of her parents, William Cormac, Mary Brennan. None of you were expecting a secondary Mary. That's why I did that way. And when I designed this whole story, it was a matter of like, how can I get these people to think on their feet and see what's going on? As far as Calico Jack, I like to show you what he looked like as well, because of course I gave you a question about him. So Calico Jack was named that because of the jackets that he wore. He basically stole them from the men that he killed. So that's why they called him Calico Jack. The name of his ship was called the Kingston. I'm not expecting Kingston to come through on a radio station spirit box. The word king will suffice here, and we have gotten the word king on different types of spirit boxes, and I have even more in my bag, but I don't want to give everybody a spirit box. We need the variation of devices, which is why with 8 people here, this is the way I kind of go with the devices. But Calico Jack, again, this is the guy they based Captain Jack Sparrow off of. So again, very interesting tale about him. But yeah.
Every breath you take by the police. Do you have anything to do with it?
So, you know what's funny? Is one of the songs I hear here all the time, Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Okay.
I get it all the time.
That's funny.
And it's common. What's funny is, even funnier is last night I was telling, you know, a gentleman on my tour, like, it's a song I normally hear here. And then, of course, somebody come out of the corner not knowing our conversation, and he said, I just heard Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And we both lost it, like cracking up laughing. Like, he just said that. So, again, that's why I do the audio recording, so you can see where the real reactions actually come out of playing, you know, some of these things. And was it last year? I heard 2 DJs talking in this space while I was listening to the radio station, and it said it was 2 ladies talking, and they say they think we're guys, and they were cracking up laughing about it. So again, these are things I can't make up, so things like that will stick out. But the name Ann showed up as soon as we walked into the space, which was really cool. But again, if I don't catch it in my spot check, that's why I write everything down, so you have my findings and your real-time findings. I'm normally done with all of your data by noon. I am going to start collecting devices. Normally done by noon. If I have to take something a little bit further as far as, you know, research, then obviously it's going to take me a little bit longer, especially if something weird shows up that I find. So let me take, I got 2 different parts of the bag here. What questions do you guys have? Questions, comments, concerns?
I got
Nathan obviously has a question.
I got duck and pass.
He's got 100 of them.
You got what?
Duck and pass.
Duck and passed.
Duck and passed. Huh.
So, you're probably wondering why I didn't have you turn that on. It just raises attention from all the other tours, and they all start harassing you guys, like, what's he got you doing now? So I'm literally the only person in America that will take the extent of what you guys did tonight with these kind of expensive devices and then give you the data back. So all the other tours around here, I don't want to say that they're jealous, but they're jealous. So that's the whole point. They all start
What
harassing.
did you turn on?
The night vision. It just raises attention, like, what's he got you doing? You know, that kind of thing. So again, that's why I don't use it. I'd rather just use the lights that, you know, they can't see either. Oh, I'll take the light.